Was a dynasty truly built on shattered dreams and spilled blood? Did a single failed exam shatter an empire? Could a kingdom crumble not under the weight of war, but beneath the suffocating luxury of a palace? The air in Heian-kyo, renamed Kyoto, tasted of rain and regret. Emperor Kammu, a man haunted by bad luck and a string of inexplicable deaths, wasn't meant to be a ruler. He was a scholar, a poet, a man who traded the dusty scrolls of Nara for a palace overflowing with jade and gold. But the gods, it seemed, had other plans. The city, built on a swampy island, was cursed. Every new construction, every ambitious relocation brought fresh misery, illness, betrayal, and the unsettling feeling that something unseen was watching. For 10 years, he wallowed in his opulent prison, a gilded cage of his own making. The palace, a monstrous edifice of marble and timber, was a constant reminder of his failure. He'd moved the capital 3 times, each journey more fraught with disaster than the last. Nara, his previous home, had been equally troublesome, a simmering pot of courtly intrigue and whispered accusations. He needed a fresh start, a blank canvas for his reign, and so he chose Yamashiro no Kuni, bestowing upon it the peaceful name of Heian-kyo. It was a wistful gesture, a desperate attempt to conjure order from chaos, a tiny, fragile hope clinging to the foundations of a crumbling empire. But the city didn't embrace his dream. It stubbornly refused to yield to his will. Nagyaka, the previous capital, slowly dissolved into a muddy ruin, swallowed by the relentless march of time and the weight of misfortune. The stones wept, the timbers decayed, and the very ground seemed to reject the imperial presence. Heian, however, endured. It became the anchor of a new era, a testament to the stubborn resilience of a city built on the edge of a river, a city destined to hold the weight of Japan for almost 1,000 years. And then, the succession began. It wasn't a straightforward line of inheritance. The eldest son, Heizai, a man consumed by illness, abdicated after just 3 years, handing the throne to his younger brother, Saga. Saga, in turn, relinquished his claim after 14 years, leaving the throne to Junna. And Junna, predictably, passed the crown to his nephew, Ninmyo. It was a bizarre, almost theatrical performance of voluntary abdication, a carefully choreographed dance of power and retreat. Each emperor, it seemed, recognized the futility of clinging to the throne, the impossibility of wielding true authority in a court riddled with ambition and intrigue. The pattern was clear. The heavenly sovereign, as they called the emperor, was a figurehead, a convenient symbol of legitimacy. Real power resided elsewhere, in the shadows, wielded by those who understood the game of courtly politics. The Fujiwara clan, a family of aristocratic advisors, had effectively become the masters of the empire. Their chief consort was the daughter of a powerful nobleman. 2 of the most important offices, Great Minister of the Right and Great Minister of the East, were held by Fujiwara officials, and even the new capital city required the oversight of a Fujiwara official. The emperors were merely vessels, beautiful, honored, and utterly powerless. They existed to provide a face for the state, a connection to the divine, but their hands were tied, their voices muted. The provinces, far removed from the glittering confines of Heian, were governed by their own governors, men who answered to no one but themselves. These provincial rulers were masters of manipulation, exploiting their authority to enrich themselves, skimming taxes and lining their own pockets. The peasants and small traders, already struggling under the weight of their meager livelihoods, found themselves perpetually squeezed for every last coin. The air was thick with corruption, a pervasive rot that seeped into every corner of the empire. The royal chronicles, filled with grim details, painted a picture of widespread poverty just outside the walls of Heian. 5,500 skulls, the record stated, were gathered and burned, the remnants of those who couldn't afford even a simple burial. The Kammu River, which flowed past the city, carried the skeletal remains of the dead, a macabre reminder of the empire's growing desperation. Kammu, the last of the troubled emperors, died in 806, leaving behind 32 children. His sons, a succession of voluntary abdication, continued the pattern. Heisei, Saga, and Junna, each one stepping aside to allow the next to claim the throne, were united by a single, unsettling characteristic. They all lacked the strength to truly rule. Then came Montoku, the youngest son, a man who spent his days indulging in the pleasures of the palace, a pampered prince utterly divorced from the realities of governing. He was 23 when he inherited the throne, a boy barely old enough to shave, and he had little to do but preside over lavish banquets and entertain his courtiers. His primary consort, Akira Keiko, the daughter of a powerful Fujiwara nobleman, played a crucial role in shaping his reign, effectively acting as his regent. Her husband, Fujiwara no Yashifusa, a man of immense ambition, orchestrated her marriage to Montoku, securing his position at the heart of the imperial court. He watched with satisfaction as Akira Keiko bore him a son and heir, and then used his influence to become chief minister, the highest official in the land. Yashifusa's power grew exponentially, his connections to the throne solidifying his position as the most influential man in Japan. But Yashifusa's triumph was short-lived. Just 1 year later, Montoku died, leaving his young son Seiwa to inherit the throne. Yashifusa, determined to maintain his influence, appointed himself regent, effectively ruling on behalf of the underage emperor. He married Seiwa's cousin, Takeiko, a strategic move designed to further entangle the royal line with the Fujiwara clan. Takeiko, however, had her own lover, a young poet whose fate was sealed by the machinations of the powerful Fujiwara family. He was exiled, forced into a monastery, and lost all contact with his beloved, a tragic footnote in the story of a dynasty built on manipulation and ambition. The cycle continued. In 872, Yashifusa died and his adopted son, Fujiwara no Madatsune, took his place as regent. 4 years later, Madatsune, driven by a desire for power, convinced Seiwa to abdicate in favor of his 5-year-old son, Yozi. It was a familiar pattern, a deliberate dismantling of the imperial line, a systematic transfer of power to the Fujiwara clan. Seiwa, the young emperor, became a mere figurehead, a beautiful, honored, and utterly powerless symbol of legitimacy. The Fujiwara regent ruled in his name, making all the decisions, dispensing justice, and managing the affairs of the empire. The marriage of Seiwa to his cousin, Takeiko, solidified the connection between the royal line and the Fujiwara clan, creating an intricate web of alliances and dependencies. It was a marriage of convenience, a calculated move to further entrench the power of the Fujiwara family, and then the world outside began to crumble. Across the sea, the Tang Empire, once the dominant power in East Asia, was unraveling. The Lushan rebellion had shattered its foundations, plunging the empire into chaos and civil war. The Tang emperors, weakened and desperate, struggled to maintain control, their authority eroded by internal strife and external threats. Meanwhile, in the north, the Shachuo tribes, a warrior people who had once served as mercenaries for the Tang, were breaking away and establishing their own independent kingdoms. These tribes, driven by ambition and a desire for autonomy, challenged the authority of the Tang, carving out their own territories and disrupting trade routes. Further east in unified Silla, the situation was equally precarious. The kingdom was plagued by corruption, factionalism, and a growing sense of instability. The rulers were more concerned with lavish banquets and personal pleasures than with the welfare of their people. The country was on the brink of collapse, a fragile kingdom teetering on the edge of oblivion. And in the distant lands of Japan, the Buddhist monk Enin traveled to Tang China, documenting the grandeur and efficiency of the Tang court. He witnessed bustling markets, opulent palaces, and a sophisticated bureaucracy, a stark contrast to the chaos and decay that were consuming the Tang Empire. But the Tang's decline was merely a prelude to a far greater catastrophe. The Shachuo tribes, emboldened by their success in challenging the Tang, turned their attention to unified Silla. In 874, they launched a devastating invasion, sweeping across the peninsula and laying waste to everything in their path. The invasion triggered a chain reaction, shattering unified Silla into three warring kingdoms, later Baekje, later Silla, and later Goguryeo. The once unified kingdom was reduced to a fragmented collection of rival states, each vying for dominance. The chaos in unified Silla and the turmoil in Tang China created a power vacuum in East Asia, a void that was quickly filled by new players. The Japanese, seizing the opportunity, launched a series of military expeditions into the Korean peninsula, establishing a presence that would last for centuries. The fall of the Tang Empire and the fragmentation of unified Silla marked the beginning of a new era, an era of warfare, upheaval, and political instability. The period known as the Five Dynasties and Ten Kingdoms began, a time of chaos and division that would reshape the landscape of East Asia. And in the heart of it all, the emperors of Japan continued to reign, their power diminished, their authority undermined, their fate inextricably linked to the machinations of the Fujiwara clan. They were symbols of a fading dynasty, remnants of a glorious past, destined to witness the rise and fall of empires, the ebb and flow of power, and the relentless march of time. Was a dynasty truly built on shattered dreams and spilled blood? Did a single failed exam shatter an empire? Could a kingdom crumble not under the weight of war, but beneath the suffocating luxury of a palace?